everyone, I just wanted to do a quick tutorial on how I apply peel base to my dip powder process, and I also want to show you how I get my cuticle lines. There's a couple of things that I've done before this video. Obviously all my other fingers are done, but this finger we're gonna do a quick lesson on. So I've applied my tips first, and then I went ahead and applied my clear or natural dip powder, which is your base dip powder, before you add color. It's extremely important if you're going to be doing peel base and you want it to go successfully without having to redo your entire tips, without having to redo your entire clear, that you really focus on smoothing out the nail with buffers. I use a couple of different methods for getting a really thin application of the clear and smoothing it out. That way when I do the color dips over, then they end up not being as thick. So after I've applied my 2.5 to 3 clear dips, just depending on how many bumps I get during the application process, I use an e-file. And so when I'm using my e-file, I grab the liquid layers finger rest to stabilize myself, and I really focus on getting it smoothed out here at the cuticle line using this type of a tip, which is like a safety bit. So you can use like a round one, or something like this that has a round tip, or you can use one of these, and it really doesn't hurt as I get right up in there. And then I'll just smooth everything out, get that nice apex going. And then after all of that, I'll even go through again with the finer side of a buffing block, and I'll really smooth it out, making sure that there's no bumps whatsoever. After I do all of that, I activate again, which is really key to harden everything. And then I dehydrate before starting with the peel base and everything else. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with that. I get some alcohol. And I'm going to really clear that up, making sure there's no oils or anything left on this finger. Then I'm going to go ahead and go with my peel base. So I'm using UNT. I have found it to be one of the better ones. It's just a personal preference. So I've seen people use 2 layers. Personally, I think when you smooth down your dip as smooth as I have it, 1 layer is perfectly fine. As you can see, this one popped off and it's been 4 days. Now, if I like changing every 4 days, then that's a plus. In this particular scenario, I am just gonna redo this then. So I apply a really thin layer, very thin layer. Some people like to leave the free edge or around the cuticles or the sidewalls uncovered with the peel base. I find that if I do that, then when I'm ready to pop off, for me, it pulls the clear right with it and ruins my natural nail bed. So I've had, instances where this whole area, this whole area, this whole area kind of just like pop right off my nail with the color dip. I'm really trying to be as good as I can with my natural nail bed, so I'm not going to risk that. Plus I like changing my colors out a lot, so for me this works. So I'm gonna let that dry. For the color, we're gonna be doing Aether Opal by Sparkle & Co. Now I've been really focusing on bringing all the foils up to the surface so I can get that really beautiful shimmery effect with this particular foil dip. Okay, so now it's completely dry. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into my base liquid. Now, for the finger rest, it's for me really important to have the area that's pointing down strategically positioned so that my finger points down when I apply the base, because for clean cuticles, you really don't want to get it on your cuticles at all, if you can. Many times I have messed up. So I'm just really slowly babying it here around my cuticles. And then I will lay my nail flat into the powder. Then I'm going to check with flakes to make sure that they're all pressed down nice and flat. Then comes the toothpick. Sometimes toothpicks are a little bit sort of blunted on the ends, so I'll take a file and sharpen this, so to speak, to get it really, really fine. And then I will rim my cuticles with this toothpick. Okay. Dust off. Round 2. Always tapping the flakes up. Press firmly down. Now, of course, you can always dip instead of pressing, but for flakes, not really recommended if you really want the flakes to sit on the surface of your nail. Okay, here we go again with the toothpick. And last dip. Perfect. So at this point, you can either choose to dip with clear to protect the foils, or you can choose to put a protective base coat on of your liquids. So what that looks like, and that's what I personally did for this time. So this is very important to not touch your cuticles, because when you apply the activator, you're going to kind of dab it on and that liquid's going to run a little bit, and so you really want to not have it sort of run into your cuticles and then bring some of the base with it and then get that like hard crusty sort of stuff all over your skin. But if it does happen, hopefully you can get there fast enough with your toothpick to kind of clean it out. All right, so I put my base, and then this is what I mean about the activator. Now, I'm mixing brands of liquids, by the way. I don't follow one particular method. I just use what I've got. So this is really important. Face down, face down. Dab the activator on. If you're facing if you point your nail upwards, then you're just going to flood your cuticles with the liquid. You just dab your activator. You don't brush over it, because you're just letting the liquid sit on top of your base to harden it. And this creates a really nice thin layer of protection, or you can use your clear dip, either way really. Okay, so this will be dry in just a few seconds. I did not get any in my cuticles, but at this point, if you did, I would really quickly do this. Alrighty, all dry. So now comes the smoothing. I'll start with my drill. Again, stabilizing my fingers with the finger rest. Just getting it a little bit thinner down by my skin to get that nice apex. And this does not hurt at all when I press it up against my skin, this type of bit here. Alrighty, so once I've done my cuticles, I'll do a quick little pass over the surface. Then I will take my buffer block, first the rougher side. Okay, then the smoother side. I will go ahead and shape. A lot of the times if if I'm using my pinky or my fourth finger, which is harder to like file all the time, I'll definitely stabilize using it flat on the table. For the thumb, I tend to usually just pick it up and go this way. So now we're gonna use a stiffer bristle brush to really clean out those cuticles, because that excess powder can also get hardened again when you put your top coat on. I'm gonna wipe with some alcohol. Then I'm gonna activate again. Right now, here comes top coat. After this dries, I tend to get a paper towel and just wipe off the excess activator. And again, pointing your finger down, stabilizing your finger, and going fast for coat number 1. I always rub off on a surface, because if I don't, then I can easily contaminate my liquids. Now for the very last top coat step, because you applied peel base, it's really easy for this to pop off. And so what I do is I really make sure to cap the entire free edge. This just makes sure that there's sort of a protective barrier around the edge where the color can just pop off from the clear. And usually, like I said, this is day 4. All of these are going strong. The only reason why this one came off is because I was picking at it. All dry. Now this one will be slower. I do a little thicker just to get that beautiful gloss. Again, finger pointed down is very important. And then really cap the free edge. All right, once the nail is totally dry, apply your favorite cuticle oil. Mine is cuticle candy. Nourish those cuticles. Alrighty, hope you enjoyed this tutorial.